Hello, my name is Kelly Rawl, and I'm the coordinator for pre-kindergarten and family engagement. Welcome to our recorded session called Understanding Attachment and Bonding Between Parent and Child. I am very pleased that you have taken a few minutes of your time to join this recorded session. This is in lieu of the live online Parent Academy session that was scheduled for February 23rd, but was canceled due to the pending winter storm. So before we get started, there is something that I want you to know, and that is that when we use the term parent, we are being all-inclusive. When we say parent, this is the parent or guardian or relative or family friend. This is whoever is assuming the parental role in the life of the child. It can be birth parents, step parents, grandparents, foster parents, aunts and uncles, family friends. There are almost unlimited examples of people who step in to take on this parental role for parents. So just keep in mind that we mean this all-inclusive. In fact, I am a grandparent raising a grandchild, and so I consider myself one of these parents. And it is definitely an inclusive term. So when we talk about parents and families, then we're using those two terms interchangeably. Okay, so let's get started. As they say, time is money, and I don't want to take any more of your precious time. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to open our presentation for today. Okay. So just on this front page, I want you to know that there is a folder that I have a link there to, and I will post that on the Parent Academy recorded sessions website so that you will have full access to all of the resources that I share with you today. Also, at the bottom, you see my contact information. So please feel free anytime that you or your family is in need of support. Feel free to give me a shout, either by phone call or email. I will be happy to assist you. I have a team of people who can help you. And I also have bilingual team members. So in case you need assistance in another language, we are prepared to provide that for you. So if we don't know, if we can't help you ourselves directly, then we will definitely know how to put you in contact with people who can help you. So again, my name is Kelly, and we're going to move on to our next slide. This is a list of our objectives for this session, and it's kind of a long, wordy list, but there really are three things that I would like for you to get out of today's session. First of all, being a parent is the most important job in the world, and it starts before your baby is even born. Second, I want you to recognize and trust yourselves as parents. We all do the best we can with the tools that we have in our tool belt at the time, and you need to trust your instincts. And third, I want you to know that if the trust and the bonding and the attachment that you had with your child, maybe when they were little, if that's lost somewhere along the way, it is recoverable. It will take some time, but you can rebuild that trust and that bond with your child. Also, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, but the most perfect gift that you can give your child is love. You do not have to be a stay-at-home parent to bond with your baby. You don't even have to be a birth parent to bond with a child, regardless of how old they are. Most of the time, stay-at-home parenting is a luxury. And I didn't have that, nor did my children, In fact, I come from a long line of working parents. One of my grandmothers was actually considered the black sheep of the family because she was a secretary, not a teacher. Apparently, I've come from a long line of educators, and I'm really proud of that. We will talk briefly about the percentage of working parents, both moms and dads, and I just want you to know that this is not a bad thing. We're not saying it's good. We're not saying it's bad. It is just an actual quantifiable piece of information. I was a single working parent for a lot of years. However, I'm confident that I bonded with my children when they were young, and that they in turn knew how to bond with their children when they became parents themselves. Take a look at this quote. There are only two lasting bequeaths we can hope to give our children. One of these is roots and the other wings. So the roots that we're talking about today are actually attachment and bonding. And then the wings come along later, hopefully when our children grow up and learn to be more responsible for themselves and ultimately leave the nest and move out of their parents' homes. Some of the earliest studies regarding parenting relate to the attachment process itself between infants and their primary caregivers. Although the bond between an infant and a primary caregiver is of the utmost importance to develop in the early stages of life, its establishment or lack thereof can endure throughout a lifetime. Much is still unknown about this early stage of attachment. However, with the transition in society toward more working mothers, then we can easily understand why this issue is it's resurfacing. We know from the 2020 census that 71.2% of mothers with children between the ages of birth and 18 are working outside the home. 93.3% of fathers work outside the home. And the bottom line is that 3 out of 5 preschoolers have a working parent. Remember, working outside the home is not bad. It's just a reality in today's day and age. Now, there was a researcher back in the, well, I'm not exactly sure, 50s or 60s. His name was Carlo. And I know this is a pretty bizarre looking picture, but he was intrigued by love. And so he did a study because he questioned the theories that were current back then, which said that love began as a feeding bond with the mother and then was applied by extension to other people as the infant grew. And starting in 1957, he worked with, I'm probably saying this wrong, rhesus monkeys. And you can see one of those in the picture here. They are more mature at birth than humans are, but like humans, their babies show a range of emotions and they need to be nursed. So he took infant monkeys away from their real mothers and gave them instead 2 artificial mothers. One model was made of wire and the other one was made of cloth. However, the wire model was outfitted with a bottle to feed the baby monkeys. But the babies rarely stayed with the wire model longer than it took to eat. They clearly preferred cuddling with the soft cloth model, especially when they were scared. And when they took the bottle and put it on the cloth model, then the baby monkeys never went to the wire model. So the conclusion that they came to is that mothering is an intimate and responsive relationship between the baby and the child, and it is central to human development. So they learned that attachment is crucial to development, and a lack of attachment can last throughout the life. And then the preference for babies is warmth and comfort over just necessity. So what I'd like you to do now is just to stop for a minute and think about some situations where parents and children, real parents and children today might actually be separated from their parents. So just think about that for a few minutes. And you can pause the video to stop and think about it. If you wanted to make some notes, you can. But in the essence of time, I'm going to move on. So we do know that sometimes very young parents have so many needs of their own that they just aren't able to take care of their new little baby. Sometimes people are in jail or they're in the hospital for whatever reason. And then there are premature infants who stay in NICU for an extended period of time. And then, of course, we have disaster victims. We also might have refugees. You might have caregivers who, for whatever reason, for instance, emotional or mental reasons, they're unable to respond to that infant. And even sometimes the infant has a disability that is unknown to us to begin with. And that infant might not respond to their caregiver for some reason that we don't know about yet. So I'm going to click on this link. Let's pull up a document. And so here's a short list of reasons why there might be separation between parents and children in the home. One parent might be out of town for an extended period of time. Either the parent or the child could be in the hospital or ill. And then, of course, there are the big B's, divorce or death. So there are some things that you can do to ease the separation anxiety. So, for example, you can leave your baby with someone that the infant knows very well. As the parent visit as often as possible. You could provide pictures of the parents, record the parent's voice so that the infant hears the mom or the dad or the caregiver, the guardian, when they hear their can report them reading a story or singing a song so that the child begins to know their voice. You can also provide the infant or the toddler with familiar objects and surroundings whenever possible. So if there's a favorite bear or a blanket, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. For preschoolers, you might use a calendar to mark off the days until they are able to reunite with their parental guardian, and then keep your routines in the household as normal as possible. Children respond well to structure. They actually need structure in order to thrive. So just know that there are strategies that you can use to actually regain this or to keep this attachment growing during separation. So we know that attachment might be described as an infant's first love. And so when babies are first born, this actually is their first job. This is their primary social task, to establish a close relationship with another human being. And it's just very important that they're able to do this. The first attachment is the primary caregiver. Usually it's the mother, but then it soon extends to the father and the siblings and other significant people. And then the process of attachment begins early in pregnancy and continues at the moment of birth and beyond. So I know that as soon as my babies were born, they were brought to me right away so that I could connect with them, and I introduced myself to them, and I told them how much I loved them and that I've been waiting a long time for them. And they felt the warmth of my skin, and they could hear my heart beating, and they heard my voice. And then after they were cleaned up, they were handed over to their father, and he was able to do the same thing. And it's a precious moment. that you certainly hate to lose, but I was fortunate enough to be able to create those bonds with my children. So there is a link here at the bottom of this screen, and it has some discussion starters about the role of fathers. And so I just want you to know, I'm not even going to pull this up, but it is in the folder for you to look at later. These are very thought-provoking questions, and they do not necessarily express the opinion of the HEB ISD or myself as the presenter. But, you know, traditionally, mothers are the primary caregivers for infants and children. However, fathers also have become very significant caregivers. And it's the timing and the quality of this attachment that is critical. And it all depends on how much time is spent with the infant and how much time you spend interacting with them. In the document, one of the discussion starters actually says that fathers respond differently to their infants than mothers. Fathers tend to be more playful and stimulating. They tap and poke and bounce and throw the baby up in the air, which usually drives mothers a little bit crazy. But mothers tend to be more subtle in their play. However, infants and babies respond positively to both of these kinds of playfulness. That's very important to know. Another one of the discussion starters says that fathers bring encouragement and independence to the parent-child relationship, and mothers bring nurturing and communication, and that both are essential. So my take on all of these statements and discussion starters is that whether you are the mother or the father or the foster parent or the grandparent, you can bring all of these things to the parent-child relationship. It doesn't matter which caregiver you are. It just has to be intentional. You know, you have to, if you're going to be the one who roughhouses and plays and rolls around on the floor and tickles and all that kind of stuff, then do that. If that's your personality. If it's not your personality, then they'll probably come across someone else in their lifetime who is like that, and you will expand your horizons like that. Fathers can be nurturing and loving and supportive. There's no reason that they can't be. So just know that these discussion questions are thought-provoking and can spark some lively discussion. Now, we do know that there are some specific characteristics of an effective caregiver. And the key to developing these characteristics and maintaining healthy attachments with your children includes meeting the infant's needs. And it depends on the mother or caregiver's ability to do these things, to be sensitive and responsive to the child when they're together, to be emotionally and psychologically accessible to the infant, and then to have exemplary daycare arrangements. If you're not going to be able to be with your baby all day, then just make sure that they're going to be in the best care possible. And then try to develop a network of support. So if your baby is sick, then there's someone that they're familiar with that they can go stay with while you continue to work, even though they might not be allowed to go to daycare. If you have a supportive significant other, that's extremely helpful. How to maintain your own job satisfaction and avoid becoming overworked and a retired physician feel myself, because I work a lot, but I do try to spend quality time with my grandchild once I get home. And successfully resolve your feelings of guilt for leaving your child in some way. So while you go to work, this is a hard one, and I personally have had to worked on this specifically when my children were little. When my granddaughter came to live with us, you know, it was affected life, and I couldn't feel guilty about it, but I needed to take care of her, and I also needed to do my job. So just know that while those feelings of guilt feel somewhat, they're probably somewhat natural. Anybody would have those feelings. If you didn't, then you weren't, then you might not be the parent that you need to. But or you are already very mindful of this situation, and if you are that parent and you don't feel that guilt, then that's a sign of a good parent as well. So just keep this in mind, that this is your lot in life, and so if leaving your child in someone else's care is the best you can do right now, then that's the best you can do. And pat yourself on the back for making that happen and for having the quality child care for your child while you're at work. So try not to feel guilty. And if you are feeling guilty now, then try to resolve those feelings. Okay? We also know that there are different stages of attachment. So the first stage is pre-attachment, birth to 2 or 3 months. And I apologize for that digging. It's something that I haven't been able to change on my computer, and sometimes it happens a lot, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And I have not been able to make it stop happening. So anyway, pre-attachment is the first stage, and that is from the time of birth until the child is 2 or 3 months old. Remember, these are approximations. They're not carved in stone. Then there's the attachment in the making stage. So this is when you're building that attachment, and that usually happens between 2 or 3 months until the child is 6 or 7 months old. And then there is the clear-cut attachment stage, which is 6 or 7 months to 2 or 3 years. And so I do want to share this attachment, this document with you. It's in that folder, and it gives you some descriptions of the different stages. So in the pre-attachment stages, this is when the baby roots and leans in toward the fingers, or if you're nursing toward the breast or to the baby bottle or whatever. And then they are focusing their eyes on the person who's holding them and just loving them. I love that. It just melts my heart. And they start smiling and cooing and gurgling, and they start to recognize the caregiver or the parents. And then they become well acquainted with your touch and your smell and the sound of your voice. And so these are all very rewarding as events in this particular stage, the pre-attachment stage. In the attachment and making stage, remember, is 2 to 3 months until the child is 6 to 7 months old. And this is when they start laughing and smiling and babbling and responding when people approach. So, I love it when my younger grandchildren, just when they see me, they reach out to me and run up to me and give me hugs. They also start crying when people have to leave. And they are capable of being consoled by another familiar person. So this is really a very fun stage. And then there's the clear-cut attachment stage, and this is 6 or 7 months until the child is 2 or 3 years old. And so this is when kiddos kind of hit that shy stage, is what we've always called it. And this is where they stay very close to their familiar people. They might be attached to more than one person by now, and they're very, very fearful of strangers. For the first time you take your kid to a daycare center, they might cling to you and they protest as they cry and hang on, and they don't want you to leave them when you first start dropping them off at your favorite home. or place of business. But this will pass. So just remember that children do grow out of that fearful stage. Okay. And so we just talked about the pre-attachment stage and the things that happen during this stage. So we're going to move along to the attachment in the making stage. Look at that baby with the sunglasses. I have a picture of my kiddos like that when we were about this age with sunglasses on. So yes, I love this stage of development. And then there's this clear-cut attachment stage. Where they stay close by their familiar people and they are very fearful of strangers. Okay, so then now we know that there are some specific characteristics of infants when they are securely attached to their adults. They have more sophisticated modes of communication. They can be more compliant, more playful. They use more facial expressions and gestures. They're using their vocals more, and they might show more self-regulation and cry less. Okay. There are 3 contributing factors to attachment that I want to mention here, and that is that the parent's personality and temperament. And then likewise, the child's personality and temperament can impact how securely they attach. And then the surrounding circumstances. So remember that you as the primary caregiver, you are not the only contributing factor to the attachment with the infant. And if you click on this link, you'll see all of these characteristics of securely attached infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So let's take a look at the characteristics of securely attached toddlers. These children are more sociable and cooperative. They're more enthusiastic and persistent. They're more competent in solving problems. And so they keep trying and they keep trying. But then when they can't get it, they're going to go ask for the caregiver's help. And when they're also more compliant, they have more internalized controls of their behavior. And then when we talk about the preschoolers' characteristics, this is when we really start to see their personal independence and emotional security come to life. This is when you're going to see real pride when they are, as they become more personally responsible for their own well-being. So when you're potty trained, they're very proud. This is a perfect example. They have more personal confidence. They don't need to wear diapers or pull-ups or anything like that, and they use the potty just like parents do. I guess accidents still happen, but that's okay. They're more self-directed, they're more curious. You might even see some leadership skills and more mature social skills coming out. Other children want to play with them. They're more sympathetic when their peers are sad or in trouble. They share a little better and more cooperative and trusting, and just generally more open. And you're trying to make friends. So in order to have these attachments and to build these attachments, there's actually a cycle that we see that happens. Let's click up here so you can see the picture of the cycle. So as the caregiver, when you're taking care of the infant, they may respond physically. They look at you and they gaze into your eyes and they're reading and snuggling. So that makes the caregiver feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and they respond instinctively with tactile responses, uh, touching and wrapping and smooching and, eating those milk sugars, whatever you want to call it. And they meet the infant's needs. So when they cry because they have a wet diaper, then they change the diaper. If they're hungry, the caregiver feeds them. And so then that tells the infant that um, that the caregiver can be trusted and that they're going to keep caring for them. And so then they reinforce the caregiver by gazing and feeling and relaxing. And when they feel that they relax, then the caregiver feels even more warm and fuzzy, and they're reinforced by the infant's reactions, and they respond instinctively with their tactile responses, and they continue to meet the needs of the child. And then the infant feels more secure and loved, and they're calm and more responsive. And then the caregiver really enjoys taking care of the infant, and they meet the emotional and physical needs of the child. And then it starts all over again, and it just goes around and around and around until the infant or the child grows. But sometimes there's a difficult infant. And just please know that when we say difficult, we're not saying bad. Difficult might mean, for example, might be a colicky child, or a child who isn't sleeping well at night, or the child who is a picky eater, or will only be happy and compliant when they're with one person. So a difficult child is not a bad child. This is just their way of communicating with you when they cry. And there's something going on there that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to click on this cycle so that you can see that again. There's the difficult infant, attachment and the difficult infant. So while the other, the attachment to the ideal attachment cycle was in the previous cycle, this one is not so much fun, and it can be very detrimental if this is how it plays out. So the infant doesn't physically respond to a caregiver. So the caregiver tries to do something and the infant doesn't really respond. So then the caregiver becomes understandably anxious and uptight, and they start questioning parent need skills. And then the infant senses their anxiety, and they become uptight. The infant senses the caregiver's anxiety and then becomes fretful and less responsive, and they might even avoid close body contact with the caregiver. And then the caregiver feels rejected. You see how there's this domino effect that's happening. And the caregiver feels rejected and like they failed, and then they might even start limiting their capacity to respond to the infant. And then the infant is very smart, and they often become rejecting and ambivalent toward the caregiver, and they avoid the caregiver by turning away. Oh, that just hurts my heart, but it can happen. The caregiver then becomes very frustrated and maybe even angry, which could result in rejection of the child or even abusive behavior. And again, this cycle will perpetuate itself over and over as the child gets older. And then this relationship is not the best that it can be. And so there are things, like we talked about before, that you can do to help mitigate these attachment issues. Okay. So as we think about the things that you can do to mitigate those issues, the first thing you can do is to have a healthy marital relationship with your mate. If you're not, then having a healthy relationship with yourself and taking care of yourself is going to be of the utmost importance. Then, if you have a very involved, supportive spouse and family members, that's going to be essential, because then bonding and attaching with the child isn't the sole responsibility of the caregiver. Everyone can help. And then it's always helpful if everyone who is around the child has a better understanding of child development and has reasonable expectations for the infants and the children. And then beyond the family, there is a network of societal support. So of course you have your friends and you have parenting classes like the one you're watching now. And then there are other child development resources. Remember that my department is part of that network of support that is able to help you. So if you are experiencing difficulty with being part of the parenting process, please reach out to us. If we can't help you, we know we can help. We can connect you with people outside of our department to help you. So at this point, I just want to say thank you for watching our recorded session, Understanding Attachment and Bonding Between Parent and Child. And I'm going to leave this slide up for a few more minutes because I want you to be able to go to this link and complete the short form, answer a few questions, let us know how we did and what we could do to improve. I also have a question on there about what other topics you would like to learn about so that we can plan for next year and hopefully meet your needs. And then I just want to reiterate, I mentioned it a while ago on that other slide, but the last thing I want to remind you is to take care of yourself as well as the children and the other people in your home. Take care of yourself. If you need time to relax, you need time to de-stress, to recenter yourself. And I know sometimes it's really hard to find that time. I remember when my first child was born, and I thought, I just need 5 minutes to myself, 5 minutes, just to let go of everything that might have happened earlier in the day, or to take a breather and switch my hats. You know, I had different hats that I wore. I was a teacher at work, and then I had to be a mother and a wife at home. So I took off my teacher hat and put on my mom and wife hat. Okay, so just remember, if you need those 5 minutes, find a way to take those 5 minutes. Exercise, eat right, meditate, whatever you need to do to help your soul be better prepared and more able to take care of your children. Okay, so the link is https://bit.ly HEB attachment. That's HEBATTACHMENT. So please go there and sign in and let us know that you've watched our video and what we can do to improve. I want you to have a blessed remainder of the school year. Don't forget that you can call me or email me anytime. And my phone number is 817-399-2083. And my email address is kellyrall@hebisd.edu. Thank you and have a blessed day.